So this is the Bring Your Own Photos show. I collected multiple photographs from different people, and what a beautiful collection. I'll be honest, this was amazing. So the first one is Peter. Peter, are you around?
I am. Can everybody hear me?
Sounds good, actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
Is it
Yes.
loud enough?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, shall I start, Sri?
Yes, please.
So, my theme for this evening is a summer of rarities. All these photos were taken in the past couple of months within Santa Clara County. And I'm starting with a scaly-breasted munia from a small family group that was hanging out at Almaden Lake in July. The scaly-breasted munia is native to Southeast Asia, but it's been introduced into many parts of the world and small breeding populations have gotten established. There's no difference between the male and female. That's just an adult. Next, please. This is a pair of munias caught in the act of making new scaly-breasted munias. Next, please. Here's the long-tailed duck that's been on the Pescadero estuary this summer. She's about 2,000 miles from where she's supposed to be during the summer, which is the very northern edge of North America. My hypothesis is that she was wintering on the British Columbia coast and turned south and not north when migration season began. She came out to visit me and my wife, Diane, and looked kind of cute. We were the only people on the estuary at that particular time, and I think that's why she came out. Next, please. This is a least bittern that was hanging out for quite a while at the so-called hidden pond near the Casey forebay. The least bittern has some very impressive adaptations for life in these very dense reed beds. The camouflage is perfect. It has a narrow body and the black head. The black comes from melanin, which, as I'm sure you know, makes feathers more resistant to wear and abrasion. And it's thought that this is an adaptation for using its head to push through the dense reed beds. Next, please. This is an adult male blue grosbeak in full breeding plumage. It's one of a small family of blue grosbeaks that were hanging out in a sycamore grove along a rip strip in Ed Levin County Park. Next, please. I'm sure everyone recognized that this is an adult California condor. It was in a group of, I think, about 7 birds that spent a few days at the east end of Anderson Lake. I think there was a large carcass down on the dry lake bed. From its tag number, it's a 6-year-old, so it's a young adult, and it's from the Pinnacles flock, which is only about 50 miles away as the condor flies. I have to say that the photos I got then were, I think, once in a lifetime opportunity. There was this large candelabra-like snag, and you see a piece of it, and 6 or 7 birds were perched there in perfect light, so close that I had to zoom out. And now and then a little turkey vulture flew in so you could have a great size comparison between the condor and the vulture. Next. This is a juvenile condor. It's a 2-year-old from the same Pinnacles flock. Once these birds take off, they seem never to have to move their wings, and they travel very, very rapidly, and I think could cover the 50 miles to the Pinnacles really quickly. Next. This is a zone-tailed hawk. It was hanging out at Anderson Reservoir around the same time and the same place as all the California condors. This zone-tailed hawk is really a tropical and subtropical species, so it's kind of a vagrant. You can see that it bears resemblance to a turkey vulture, Not only does it look a bit like a turkey vulture, but its flight pattern is pretty similar. Next. In fact, the zone-tailed hawk is often found within a kettle of turkey vultures, and it's speculated that it does this to fool its prey, which have learned that the carrion-eating turkey vultures are not a threat. So it kind of sets up an ambush. And that concludes my summer of rarities. Thank you, Sri, for inviting us.
Absolutely, Peter. Amazing photos.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you all.
Irene. Irene, are you here?
Unmute.
Irene? Sorry, does anybody see her at all? Like I can't.
Yes, yes, I see there's a Irene Koffel, but it looks like both microphone and camera are turned off. So
Maybe we'll come back to her if she joins us later. Julio, are you here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Well, I'll be showing a few pictures from a couple of trips to Arizona, one in the spring and the other one on July of this year during the monsoon season. So yeah, let's move on to the next slide. So this first picture is one of an olive warbler. This is one of those enigmatic birds that is neither olive in color nor a wood warbler, like most North American warblers. But it is a bird that can be found in the high elevations in the pine forest of southeastern Arizona. Next slide. And this is a Grace's warbler. He's another pine forest specialist. And by the way, the warblers shown here were all photographed in Mount Lemmon, outside of the city of Tucson, Arizona. Next slide. This is a red-faced warbler. This brightly colored warbler can only be found at high elevations, also in Mount Lemmon. Next slide. And nothing says spring in Arizona more than a flowering cactus. So it was a treat to photograph a similarly colored Pyrrhuloxia perched on a cactus with red flowers. Next. This is a blue-throated mountain gem. This is one of the largest hummingbirds north of Mexico. And we have it here feeding on a red yucca flower. Next. This is a more common bird. This is many desert birds are drawn to sources of water. And I happened to photograph this cactus wren when it was just finished drinking water. And it was nice to see a reflection as well. Next. So this is a very bunting. This is truly a bird of the monsoon season. Very buntings don't start breeding until the first rain of the season. This is a very colorful bird in good light, but most of the time, if you don't get the right angle, it appears black. And next. And last but not least, this is the Montezuma quail. This is a bird that is more often heard than seen during the monsoon season. And this is by far my best encounter with one. So that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Oh, fantastic photos.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Right, Alan.
Here I am.
Excellent. Let me know when you're ready to go to the next slide.
Next. This is a ring-billed gull photographed in Mountain View shoreline. It seemed to be very tame. I was fairly close to it. It didn't seem to mind me at all. Next, another of the same bird. By the way, I was using a Sony A7R5 and 70 to 350 millimeter APS-C zoom. I often use APS-C lenses on my full frame. I started out with a 100 to 400 millimeter zoom, which is just a superb lens. Excuse me, I had to catch my breath. And but then I discovered that this 70 to 350 is also a superb lens and half the weight. So I mostly use it unless I'm working on something very close to home. Next slide. Well, we're still on the same goal. Next slide. This is the closest I've been to a hummingbird in my entire life. I photograph bees a lot, and I was photographing bees at dusk. And you probably know that hummingbirds get pretty brave at dusk, stoking up for their night of torpor. And suddenly this hummingbird appeared about 2 feet away from me. And I was using probably a 70 to 200 millimeter zoom at the time. And it was just a great opportunity. I blasted away. And I use flash, by the way. I use flash on many of my photographs. Next. Same bird, different view. Next. Again, same bird. Next. This is a Buick Wren on my backyard. I think it was nesting in the backyard because I saw it so often. It's sitting on a wooden sculpture of a duck right now with an insect in its beak. Next. Same bird. Incidentally, if you haven't been around these birds, they're pretty tiny. They're smaller than a sparrow, and they have a very loud voice, and they use it a lot. Next. Same bird with some kind of a caterpillar. Next. I shot this picture about a week ago. It's the first time in my life I've encountered an owl in daylight. It flew into my backyard. It's a great horned owl. And a friend of mine was there, and she was so amazed that she was speechless. She tried to speak and she couldn't speak. She was so moved by this appearance. It hung around for about 10 minutes, tried several different perches. This was probably shot with that same 70 to 350. Next.
I think that was the last one, Alan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much for watching.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shri. This is Irene. I finally found my unmute button.
Okay.
So, if you would like, you can do mine now, or I can wait.
Give me 1 second, Irene. Please close your eyes for a second. I'm going to go back in slides. All right. Irene, go ahead.
Okay. Hi. My pictures were all taken out of state. These were two separate workshops that I attended. The first one was in Florida. So, oh, by the way, my name is Cuffle, not Duffel. It's spelled with a K. Okay, next slide.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay, so this was in Florida. I had signed up for one of Mark Smith's nesting osprey workshops. And we were out in this lake which had hundreds of osprey nests. And I included this picture because it was a very unusual circumstance. You look at this picture and you think that the bird is bringing the fish to its baby, but it was actually leaving with this fish. So I couldn't figure out why it would do this, because the baby is looking at it like, you're still hungry, but this bird just took this fish and flew off with it. I didn't see where it went or why. So all I can think of is maybe she was hungry and she didn't want to eat in front of the kid, but who knows? Okay, next. So an unexpected bonus was we got to see a lot of barred owls in this area. And this was my favorite shot because this was a young owl, and as it was taking off, it just looked like it was playing peekaboo and looked really cute to me. Next. So this I included because every anhinga I've seen has its neck and its wings outstretched, sitting in the sun and looking to dry off. But this guy was just in the trees and looking very calm, and it was almost looking like a penguin. And the shot really brought out that beautiful turquoise eye ring. And I thought that was just such an unusual, atypical pose. Next. So this was taken at Wakod which was sort of a waterworks with boardwalks, and these hundreds of bird nests all along the boardwalk, so close. This is the first time I've ever had to switch out my long lens for a short lens just to get a shot. And this was actually shot at like 40 millimeter focal length. This was so close. And the birds seemed to be really, really calm. They didn't seem to mind at all these people walking like a couple feet away from them. So next. This was at the Orlando wetlands that had a nice spoonbill colony. I usually do a close crop of the birds, but this one I liked the way it was framed in the V of the tree. Next. These next shots were all, the next 5 shots were taken after off Vancouver Island. There's a special place where these the rapids, the currents are so fast that when the tide rises, it drives all these hake to the surface so fast that their air sacs burst. So you have all these dead and dying hake floating on the surface. Hundreds of bald eagles are diving to pick up the fish. So before this, I didn't have much of a chance to do bird and flight photography. It was mostly bird on stick. But this place, there were so many of them diving all around that it was really good practice for me. Next. So we were shooting from Zodiac. And the nice thing about the Zodiacs is they are so low in the water that when these birds come down to grab the fish, they're just at eye level. Next. This was, I caught this guy as he was doing a bank and turn, and I really liked the drama of this shot. Next. Was so one of the things that I learned on this was to underexpose because the bird the white heads of the birds tended to get overexposed if I just let the camera do its thing. So I had this turned down to like -3 exposure compensation. And this was at near sunset, so I really liked the way the light kind of caught and outlined the bird, the wings. Next. In this one, again, I did a wide crop to show the big splash as it touched down on the water to grab the fish. And you see all these little white flecks on the water. Those are all the hake that are floating in the water, so it's very easy pickings for the bird.
Wow.
That's my last one.
Thank
you.
Thank you, Irene. Where were these bald eagles, Irene?
This was at the Aaron Rapids in the Discovery Islands in the channel between Vancouver Island and mainland Canada. And this was one of Leron Guzman's workshops.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
All right, folks, just give me one quick second as we move fast through these slides. Leah. Are you around, Leah?
I think she has a hard time unmuting herself.
Oh, there I am.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me when to move.
Oh, okay. These were all taken in 2025, and I visited my daughter in Washington State, and we took a boat trip to birdwatch at Port Townsend. And this is a pigeon guillemot, and I'd never seen one before. This one you can't see, but it has bright red feet and legs. And it showed in other pictures, but we were in a boat, and it's the boat is kind of tippy, so it's difficult to take the pictures of very well. But anyway, this is the only time I've ever seen a pigeon guillemot. Next, please. And this boat tour was called a puffin tour. And this is a tufted puffin. We did see them. They're quite unusual looking. They had also, I understand, had seen horned puffin, but we didn't see one on this particular trip. Next, please. And this is the tufted puffin with a rhinoceros auklet, and on the right there. And It's called rhinoceros because it has a sort of a point on its bill that sticks up like a rhinoceros. And I didn't realize, but that's the largest, they have the largest collection of rhinoceros auklets in the whole United States. So apparently it was very good to see this. Okay, the next one. And the next trip I took was to see my sister, who lives in the southeast of the United States in Alabama. And she lives on top of Lookout Mountain and has a beautiful yard that has a lot of trees and all around it. And this is, and I took this picture, but I had no idea what it was. This is called a worm-eating warbler. And I had never even heard of a worm-eating warbler. But when I got my book out, that's what it is.
Great shot.
Yeah. And so that's a first for me. I'd never seen or even heard of that bird. And it's quite distinctive looking with pinkish legs and a stripe behind his eye and a black stripe on his head. Next, please. And this is a brown thrasher, which is in the same family as our California thrasher, but it doesn't have the real hooked beak like our California thrasher has. And it also, this particular photograph doesn't show, but it has stripes on its chest. And it's called a thrasher, I think, because they get down on the ground and scoot the things looking for insects, thrash around. And I think that's the reason for it. Now, a bit of a warning here. This is, I took this in the southeast of the United States and I got a tick bite, and I contracted something called alpha-gal syndrome, which means I can't eat mammalian products anymore. So anyway, if anybody else goes there, be very careful of ticks if you're in the southeast of the United States, because that's where that particular area of the country has a species of tick that carries this. Okay, next, please. And then I took a trip to Belize, and this is a picture of a limpkin. And our first part in Belize was right on the coast, and there are a bunch of islands out, and we went in boats, and it's very marshy, and I got this very close picture of the limpkin. I was so pleased because before I'd just seen them at a distance, but this one shows his feathers on his neck, and it's really a very nice, I think, a close photograph. Next, please. And then again in the marsh, this was it's called a fork-tailed flycatcher. It's a fork-tailed flycatcher. And we also saw it in the marsh, but we also saw them sitting on the fence post in agricultural areas. And I think it's very, very pretty, an enormous long tail. Yes, next, please. And this is a common peruke. And we had a night trip where we just drove at night over the roads, and there were all kinds of perukes. I think I'm pronouncing that right. But anyway, and if you notice between his eye and his beak, there's sort of diagonal things that come down. I think they're kind of like whiskers on his mouth, because he flies at night and catches insects. And I think that must be somehow sensing the insects. Can you see that in the picture?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And there were all kinds of perukes on the road as we would drive along. They would fly away, So that was quite interesting. Next, please. This is an ocellated turkey, and they are beautiful. I have never seen a bird this beautiful. It's really something. Very, very colorful. Next, please. And they have these little bumps on their heads. And you first think, oh, does he have some kind of growth or what is that? But they all have it. And you can see he's got a blue head and all these little red bumps all over his head and his neck.
Is that an ear behind the eye?
It looks like it is, but I couldn't get close to it. So other than just the picture. And it's interesting. I had been before to Yucatan, and we tried to find ocellated turkeys, but found none. But here, I was in an area that's protected, and it was along the road. There were just lots and lots of ocellated turkeys because they're protected and they know it. They know nobody's shooting them.
Amazing.
Yeah. Next, please. And the last one is the display of the ocellated turkey. And as you can see, he's really something. I mean, I think
yes.
they're close to being as beautiful as I don't know what, as anything I've ever seen it before. That's all.
Thank you. Yeah, great shot.
Mm-hmm.
Alexander, are you here?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Alex. I used to live in Santa Clara, but moved up to San Francisco in November. So all but one of the images I'm going to show are just birds and green spaces in San Francisco. So next slide. So one place that's, a big green space in San Francisco is Golden Gate Park. And around about February time, you get all these trees blooming. Luckily, the bloom and the birds came together here. So I think this is a little ruby-crowned kinglet I managed to capture in one of these blooming trees. So I really liked capturing these two pieces of nature together. And next slide. Again, in Golden Gate Park, when I used to visit from Santa Clara County, I'd always think I'd heard like that distinctive kind of high-pitched, I don't know, dial-up internet sound of an Allen's hummingbird, but I never actually saw one. But now being closer, I can visit more often. And at a certain time of year, the area around North Lake in Golden Gate Park is just swimming with Allen's hummingbirds. And this is one I happened to catch just on a little prickly branch. It's also blinking, I think, which kind of adds to the cuteness, I think, of the pose. Next slide. So walking through Golden Gate Park one morning, I saw some sparrows feeding up in a bush, and I thought I saw like a red sphere on one of their beaks. So I moved the camera around as fast as I could and saw that this sparrow had caught a little ladybird. So I was impressed I could focus on the bird from my position quickly enough to catch this image. And I really like this picture, showing a sparrow doing something a little bit interesting.
Beautiful.
And next slide, please. This is the only picture that's not in San Francisco. I just included it because I really liked it. This is down in Bixby Park. There are a bunch of sparrows on a fence near the little ranger station they're feeding. And I think this is a little female finch who was just feeding on a stalk of grass. And next slide, please. As kind of spring was approaching, I'd go out to these spaces and really see a huge uptick in activity. So this picture was taken in an area called Glen Canyon. And on this particular day, the wrens were just going off. There was so much calling and chattering going about, so much so that this specific individual was just hanging around kind of 6 foot away from me, not really bothered by my presence, just more into singing and, I don't know, either marking his territory or responding to others in the area. Next slide, please. Another good place in San Francisco is Mount Davidson. And there was one weekend where just so much was happening up on the hillside. There were lazuli buntings, and I didn't get a picture of those, but I did get a picture of this black-headed grosbeak that was just on the hillside, which was exciting for me because I've never seen one in that particular space and wasn't expecting it. And I think it's a pretty striking bird with that that bright burnt orange and the dark blacks. And next slide, please. So in the same space, about a few weeks later, all the activity had pretty much ceased. I got up really early one morning and I trudged around and saw absolutely nothing until I was about to leave, and suddenly this big flock of cedar waxwings were in the top of this tree, and they all flew down and were feasting on all of these berries. So that kind of made the getting up early in the morning and the trudging around worth it, as I got this picture. One thing I will say, I did AI edit out another cedar waxwing head that was protruding into the bottom of this frame, just because there were so many cedar waxwings in the bush. Kind of spoiled for choice. Next slide, please. I was really enamored with Wilson's warblers this spring and summer. I really liked that black mop of feathers on their head. So I was trying really hard to find them and photograph them. This is one back in Golden Gate Park, which I liked. It was flitting around the trees up in the canopy, and most of the shots I got, weren't really worth keeping, but this is one that worked out. I really like the kind of cutesy look in his face and the framing of the leaves and the trees.
Yeah.
Alex, excuse me for a moment, but if you search cedar waxwings bathing on YouTube, I posted a video of them bathing to music in a pond we have in our backyard. And
oh, nice. I have to check that out. Thank you. If we go to the next slide. In that same area, I saw these two adult Wilson's warblers ferrying flies back to this chick. And at the time, I was pretty confused because the chick was bigger than the Wilson's warblers. So I was like, oh, maybe that's just a quirk of Wilson warbler biology I don't know about. But I think it's actually a cowbird chick that they were looking after. Yeah, the cowbird chick was very, it wasn't very skittish. It just kind of sat around complaining until one of these two Wilson warbler adults would fly back with flies for it. Next image, please. I think this is my last one. There's a lot of red-tailed hawks in San Francisco. And there's plenty of places for them to perch. So this is one that maybe you can see it just on the bottom of the perch there, but it had caught a rat and was kind of eating its way through this rat. The gray fog of San Francisco and some of that gray concrete mass sometimes makes a really nice background. So I kind of like the pose it was giving. It's very insidious, and the tongue motion there I think is pretty evil. Yeah. But yeah, this is one of my better red-tailed pictures from San Francisco. And that's it. Yeah. So thanks for listening.
Oh, thank you. Amazing images. Steve.
Okay, greetings everyone. Thank you, Sridhara, for putting on this show again.
Absolutely.
So just last week I got back from Colombia, and yeah, so I'm going to be showing 10 pictures of Colombia. I had some time at the airport. I had a midnight flight, so I put together 10 hummingbird photos from the trip. And so let's get started.
All right.
Okay, so this is a Buffy helmet crest. This is a bird I tried to see years ago when I was in Colombia, and I struck out. So I returned again, and I was successful this time. This bird is found high up in the Andes in the Paramo, which is like an alpine tundra ecosystem that's above tree line. So this was taken at approximately 13,000 feet. I know Sridhar was there recently capturing the same species, and he was also successful.
Is it a hummingbird?
This is a hummingbird, yes. All these photos are hummingbirds. So I have 3 bearded hummingbirds. This is the first of 3. So the next. So this one is also found in the Paramo. This was taken at 11 or 12,000 feet in elevation. This is a green bearded helmet crest. This bird, as well as the Buffy helmet crest, they're both endemic to Colombia. So I was thrilled to find this because you're never guaranteed when you go up there.
Yeah.
Okay, next. And finally, at about 10,000 feet, photograph this rainbow bearded hornbill, which is, I guess it's bearded, but the beard is not quite as dramatic as the previous two. Okay, this one is not endemic. It's found in Ecuador, Peru, and Colombia.
Yes.
Next. And this is a very common bird, but it's pretty, the long-tailed sylph. And the next one is also the long-tailed sylph. Okay, next, we're back up in the Paramo at 11 or 12,000 feet. This is a black-tailed train bearer. It's the first time I've ever seen this bird. It's quite thrilling.
Wow.
And next, the white-booted racket-tail. This is it's either there's some disagreement or it's not quite decided yet. This is some consider it a subspecies of the booted racket-tail and some consider it a separate species. But whatever, now it's called the white-booted racket-tail, whether it's a own species or a subspecies. Next. And a very common bird, the shining sunbeam.
Beautiful. Perfect
How
light.
far away were you?
Sorry.
How far away? I don't know, this was taken with a 600 millimeter lens. So, yeah. And it's pretty close to full frame.
Yeah, beautiful color on the back of it.
Okay, next. And this is a ruby topaz. This is a fairly widespread bird. It's found, from Panama to Brazil. I saw it once at Trinidad and Tobago. Never got a decent photograph of it, but I had a couple opportunities on this trip. One at a feeder at some lodge, and another one was on a boat trip. We got out and walked around, found some feeding on some flowers. But this was taken near a feeder.
Lucky you.
And finally, the last one is a very common bird, sparkling violet ear. Normally those ear tufts are folded back, but they flare them, I guess, I don't know if it's aggression or whatever, but they interact with other birds. They sometimes will flare those little ear tufts. So I thought I'd include that because it's kind of amusing. But in addition, it's just a very beautiful bird. And that's all.
Stunning images, Steve.
Great photos.
Yeah.
Nice.
Amazing.
Kurt.
Hi, Sri.
Hi.
I assume you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Well, first off, just amazing images you guys have been showing tonight. Such variety and just really great stuff. So I live on the San Mateo coast. You can go to the next slide, Sri. I live on the San Mateo coast. I'm just going to show some photos that I've taken here locally over the last month or so. This first batch is actually from the last 3 weeks or so. And I live across from an open space. So I go to the open space fairly often. And, you usually see a lot of the same things, but every once in a while you see something different. So this is one of those days. These are a couple of northern harriers, and I had seen one of these harriers. It was perched on this fence post. And so I, kind of worked my way over to just, take a portrait of it on the fence post. I'm looking through my viewfinder, and all of a sudden another bird enters the picture. So I just hit my shutter button, and I got 5 shots. The timestamp all says in the exact same second. And this other harrier just come and dive bombed the one that was on the fence post. So that was an interesting thing to observe. And like I said, it was over in a flash. I mean, within a second, they scattered. Next slide. And about a week later, I was out there again, and there was this hiker or a jogger, and he came jogging by, and then he went down another trail. And about a minute later, he came back and he says, "Are you looking for hawks?" Because I had my camera and I said, "Well, I'm looking for birds." And he said, "Well, down this trail, there's a hawk standing on the trail, and I just turned around because I didn't want to bother it. So I'm going to go a different way, but I thought you might like to know." So I thought, okay, well, that sounds a little odd, but sure, I'll go down there and see if I see anything. And first thing I saw was a red-shouldered hawk fly off like I'd flushed it. So I assumed that's what he was talking about, but I went a little further. And then I saw this bird, and this is another northern harrier. And I can't remember all I'm going to show a sequence of images, but the first thing I saw was this bird was like vigorously shaking its head up and down with its mouth open. And I'm just kind of wondering, what is going on? Next slide. Um, and I kept watching it, and something started coming out of its mouth. And at first, I thought, well, maybe it's trying to swallow a vole, which they eat out here. But then the more I watched it, I see this thing, and then my very next thought was this: he's trying to expel a crop pellet. Next slide. And so that's what it was doing. It was expelling this big old crop pellet, and I've never seen a bird actually expel a crop pellet before, so I thought this was pretty interesting. So and he was not perturbed at all by me being there. I was like, his whole focus was on getting rid of this crop pellet. So the previous image, it's pretty much on its way out, about to be dropped on the ground. Well, so he gets the pellet out, and then he's not done, or she, I'm not sure. The bird's not done. And then out comes another bunch of material, which is what we're seeing in this image. Next slide. And I can't remember if I showed you, if I included an image, but then after it got that extra bit out, it just sat there for a little while, kind of shaking its head around. And this whole scene, I mean, it was shaking its head, going up and down. But I mean, it was incredible, the struggle it was having getting this out. And then after he got it out, um, he acted like he had a bad taste in his mouth. So he kind of kept opening the mouth and and so finally, then next slide, after it was done, it said, "Okay, I'm ready to go," and off it went. So that was my little interesting adventure with the Harriers. And I've got a book by Mark Elbrock, Bird Tracks in Sign, and it has a whole chapter on pellets, crop pellets, and it doesn't have any on northern harriers. So I thought this was a fairly unique and interesting thing to observe, not only from a harrier, but from any kind of a bird. So that was one of my little adventures. Next slide.
Kurt,
Yeah.
I've twice encountered brown hawks that allowed me to come within like 10 feet of them, maybe 5 feet. One was in Palo Alto and one was in Marin County. I thought there was something about that breed that was more gregarious with people.
Well, I would say I've seen a lot of harriers out here. This bird was unusually cooperative as far as not being bothered by my presence. I mean, normally if I'd have gotten that close, first off, I don't see them on the ground. And it was just standing on the ground. That was unusual. And the fact that it didn't seem to mind me being fairly close was also unusual. But, again, my thought is it was just very preoccupied with getting this crop pellet out, and you could see the size of it. It was a big pellet, and it really had a struggle doing so. So anyway, so then the other photos I have are some more local birds here to me. This is a Pacific wren whose song I love, and we hear them often here along creeks here on the coast. So this was one that was up Gaza's Creek Road. Next slide. This is, oh, I think this is a Cassinziverio. Now you've got me. Pretty sure it's a Cassinziverio. Also photographed a couple of months ago, also on Gaza's Creek Road. And next slide. Black-headed grosbeak, which I got this spring here on the coast. And I think there's one more. Yeah, this is a wren tit. And you know, if you all go to bird in the Santa Cruz mountains or foothills, you'll hear wren tits a lot, and I hear them often, but I hardly ever see them. And so this one was also on Gaza's Creek Road, and it happened to come down onto this barbed wire, so I was able to get a nice portrait of it. Just at the end of the day, you can see the last rays of sunlight reflecting on its chest. And so those, I'd never gotten a good photo of this bird before, so that was fun to get. And I think that's it.
Beautiful. I think the harriers look like juveniles. Is that right?
I think they are, yeah. I'm not an expert on being able to tell, but I think somebody else had mentioned that to me. Yeah.
The coloration seems juvenile.
Yeah.
They look like juveniles. The Cassins video that you showed, it could be a warbling vireo too.
Oh yeah, you're right. That is what it was. It was a warbling vireo. Sorry, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm almost certain you're right. Yeah.
The hawks that I encountered weren't doing anything at all. They were just standing still.
All right, beautiful. Juliana.
Yes, I think I'm ready.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so my show will be about a trip I took to Spain last November. And I will have more details about where and how at the end of my presentation. So let's go to the first slide. This is a lowly Eurasian magpie, and there are a dime a dozen, they're everywhere. However, it was the first time I saw one with this iridescence on the tail. So it reminds me of the iridescence or the effect of the sunlight that we can see here on our hummingbirds, because you don't really see the gorget all the time. You just see it when the light hits it a certain way. Next. So what comes from here on will be all lifers for me. This is called a spotless starling. And it's related to the spotted starling, but it has a limited range, namely in Spain and Portugal, a little bit of North Africa, and the 3 major islands in the Mediterranean, Sicily, Corsica, and Sardinia. Next. This is an Iberian magpie, and it's very different from the regular magpie. This one also has a limited range, but apparently, meaning Spain and Portugal, but apparently starting to spread into southern France and northern Italy. Next. Okay, so from here on, there will be quite a few raptors. On the left, there is a Cinereus vulture. On the right is a griffon vulture. The Cinereus vulture is resident in Spain, but their numbers had gone down, and then they worked on the problem, and apparently by now they got 1,000 of them. They can be seen all the way to Asia, but the ranges are disjunct. So there is no continuous range for them. The griffon vultures, my understanding is that they also worked at increasing their numbers, but it's not as endangered as the one on the left, which is called near threatened. As far as the griffon vulture on the right, I did see what I thought was Himalayan vulture in India, but I'm not quite sure if it was Himalayan or it was the Eurasian one also in India. So let's assume that it was a different vulture. Next. Okay, this is a red kite. And this picture actually shows my limitation in photographing a very fast bird in flight. I have quite a few in-flight photographs of this bird, but nothing as good as getting close to the one that I'm showing here. Next. I see that the three added this to your, you know, the common.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So this is a Western marsh harrier, and I don't think it has any. It's a resident in Spain, and I think it has a pretty good range within Eurasia. Next. This is a Eurasian goshawk, and I was very happy to see a goshawk because when I went, I've never seen one in North America. Apparently they're uncommon. I asked about them when I was in Alberta, Canada. They couldn't find me one, so I was very happy to see one. The Eurasian kind. Apparently, the North American kind also came from, you know, over the Bering Straits into North America, but I'm not quite sure if it's quite the same bird. Next. And now the really main raptors important in Spain. This is a juvenile Spanish imperial eagle. And it is endangered somewhat. It's in the vulnerable category. I think there was a big effort in Spain to increase their numbers. Next. And this is an adult. So the big characteristic of the adult is this white on the front edge of their wings. So this completes my birds of Spain, but I have one more slide. And this is a photo of a lynx family. In the center, there is the mama lynx, and with 2 of her 5 cubs. The main reason of my trip to Spain was to see the lynx. So it turns out this was also, I mean, the lynx was also almost extinct, but they did a very good job in bringing it back. So by now they have 2,000 of them, and the reason they've multiplied so nicely is because they have nice sized litters. This one was 5, And I emailed the guide from Spain about what did they get this year, and apparently they had at least 4. So if they have such a large litter, then they can, they can bring the numbers up again. So as far as where I went, I start with what I researched. I went to Google and I said, can I see links close to Madrid? And this one site came up as the first, the first item in the search. And it was very good for me because most of the links are in the south, which would have meant one more flight from here. So it would make a 3-leg flight. And 2 legs are more than enough for me right now. So it turns out this program is run by a photographer, and he started doing tours for others only, I mean, full-time only in the last 5 years, but by now 6. But on and off, he was doing it for at least 10 years. And he has a 5-day program whereby 2 days, I spend 2 days. If you want, you can spend more than 2 days, non-consecutive full days in a hide for 9 hours watching the links. And then they have shorter times in various days where you go to other hides for the various raptors. So I was extremely happy with everything. And since he came up as the first one in the Google search, I asked him how much he's paying Google, and he said nothing. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you for sharing. This is lovely. Corey. Corey, are you here? Okay, maybe not. So we'll have to come back to Corey if he's not here right now. Suchi, are you able to join us today?
Hi.
Hi.
Yes. I am like really amazed with all the photos we have seen here and getting inspired to go on such trips. So thank you everyone for sharing your photos. So all my photos are from my backyard, and I just happened to like see through my kitchen window or my other windows, and just happened to like turn my head and I see a bird, and I ran for my camera and just clicked it. And I'm still trying to learn how to use my camera, so few of them would be like super blurry, but it's the story that would matter. So let's start. So this one is Cooper's Hawk, I guess, and I was clearly watching TV, and I heard this as if there was a cackling, like a soft laughing. I was like, why is it continuously coming? What is it? And then I turned my head and I saw this bird, and it sat in that like for a couple of minutes, and yeah, and then I saw the other bird, and I researched why were they making so much noise. So maybe they were trying to mate or get attracted. The next photo. This is turkey vulture, and this is my first time capturing a bird in flight, I would say. And yeah, there were like 6 of them hovering over my head. So I just was lucky to like kind of focus on his eyes and get something. Next. This is Black Phoebe, and so this year I had, I think, uh, like 2 times I've seen the Black Phoebes with the babies and the feeding and everything. Around my backyard, there's the nest. I'm not sure where, but they happen to be here in the backyard. And yeah, this guy was feeding in. Next. And this was the Western bluebird. And this one was housing in right in our patio kind of a thing. And she didn't let me sit outside. She was so noisy and so territorial. And she had like 3 kids, and one of them was like, I just captured the baby being fed. And this one was the noisiest baby, and he was getting fatter, much more faster than any other ones. Next. This one is Cooper's hawk again, I believe. And so the first photo, the Western bluebird, when she was feeding the baby, the mother was feeding the baby. This is right next evening. And this guy had the Western bluebird. I don't know if you can see the colors of that bird here, but I just hope that it wasn't the baby. So yeah, and it took him like 7 minutes to like clean this bird out. He was just sitting there and enjoying.
Gosh.
Next, please.
Yeah.
And this is after he had finished eating. He looks so sweet, as if he has done nothing. Anyway, next, please. This is from my kitchen window. I enjoy watching the birds taking a bath. This is Western bluebird. So I'm still working with my camera, trying to get the settings right. So let's just hoping that something would be nice and clean. Yeah, next, please.
This looks like a Bevex wren, actually.
Sorry?
This looks like a Bevex wren.
Oh, is it?
I think so, yeah.
No. I think the light is not like nicely captured. It has like
No, it's a
normal
wren.
eye.
It's a wren.
It's a wren?
It's certainly not a bluebird.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm relying on the photo, the iPhone recognizer, so I might be wrong. Yeah.
No worries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, please. Yeah. So this one I captured. So the first few one that I've shown where the Black Phoebe was feeding, I think this is another group. And if you can see almost with the rightmost, there are flies. So this baby bird is trying to catch the flies, and around the other corner was the mother feeding the one of the weakling. So yeah. Next, please. And this is just one of the nest of the house finch. So I was able to capture it. She was making a lot of noise. Next, please. And this is a red-tailed hawk, I believe. And yeah, it was so white. I don't know, like I have never seen like so many times the red-tailed hawk perches on my backyard, but this was super white. So I don't know why. Next, please. Yeah, this one is a Cooper's hawk, and I was intrigued by its color of the eye, like because the earlier Cooper hawk that I'd seen, and it was mostly yellow color eye, and this guy had a red. So, do if you know why is that? I haven't researched it why. So yeah, that's it, I guess, from me. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah. Sri, can you hear me now? It's Corey.
Oh, hi, Corey.
Yeah.
Yes.
I apologize. I was watching on my big computer screen and had my computer closed, and I guess there's no microphone on the computer screen. So I apologize for
No,
that.
no, yeah, no worries at all, actually. Yeah. Welcome. So,
Yeah,
guys,
no, I've been here the whole time.
close your eyes for a second as I go back, okay?
Hmm.
Definitely want to. Oh, there you go. All right,
Okay,
Corey.
thanks.
All yours.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mhm.
So what I thought I'd do is just show a series of pictures kind of starting close to home and then getting farther and farther away. So go ahead and show the first picture. Yeah, so this is a picture that was taken at Staten Island farm in the Central Valley, right in a tule fog right at sunrise. Obviously, sandhill cranes dancing in the water.
Beautiful.
And now I'm up I moved out of California into the Pacific Northwest, and this is a blue-winged teal. They were very hard to take photographs with, although I guess these days with pre-capture they'd be easier. They just would be sitting on the water, and with no warning, they wouldn't change their head position, they wouldn't change their wing position. They just exploded off the water. And by just sitting there with my finger on the shutter, half pressed, waiting for them to go, I was able to get a picture of one of them taking off. Next slide, please. And still, now I'm in British Columbia. This is a common loon. We went out on this lake when it was still very early in the morning, and the fog was very thick. And we were in a boat, just kind of staying behind this loon that we could barely see, and all of a sudden it moved into a clearing in the fog. And it spread its wings to stretch, and you can kind of see where the sunlight is just coming through the fog and hitting its wing, and there's just fog all around the bird. I kind of liked the photograph because there are like three layers of fog besides the bird, so I kind of liked it.
Mhm.
Next one, please. And this is still in British Columbia. This is a great gray owl. Um, Great gray owls hunt a lot by sound more than by vision. You can see they have a really big face mask that funnels sound to their ears. And boy, when they hear something, they just focus right in on it. So here's an owl taking off because it heard prey. Next one, please. And so this is a picture that I really like that my wife, who's also a photographer, isn't very fond of at all. But the reason that I put it up is that it was taken with a 24 millimeter lens. So as you can imagine, I was probably somewhere between 4 and 6 inches away from this hummingbird when it was taken.
No.
It is a multi-flash picture. I have to tell the truth, it's a setup picture. But I just think the detail is just incredible. Anyway, hummingbird with multi-flash, but with a very short lens. All right, next picture, please. And this is a northern emerald toucanet. We were just fortunate to come across this nest right on the side of the road. We're actually standing on the road and shooting into this field where this tree was. I had to back up to be able to focus with my 600 millimeter lens. The nest is in this tree, and the adult has an avocado in its beak that it's taking in to feed the nestlings. Wild avocados are much smaller than cultivated avocados.
Mm.
Yeah, next slide, please. And now I've left, so that we went to Central America. Now I'm in the Galapagos. This is a red-beaked tropic bird. As most of you know, tropic birds are famous for their very long tail streamers, which are shown well in this picture. And they hang out right on the cliffs on the ocean. So you kind of get these dark volcanic Galapagos type rocks in the background with the ocean down at the bottom of the cliff. Next slide, please. And now I've gone across the ocean to Australia. This is a pretty common bird in Australia. It's called a rainbow lorikeet. Lories and lorikeets are a family of parrots that eat fruit and nectar. They're often quite colorful. They have tongue adaptations that let them sop up the nectar with papillae on the end of their tongue, and I was just fortunate to catch this one when it was preening its tail. Just as an aside, I am sort of a parrot fanatic. I now have photographs of more than 100 species of parrots in the wild. Pretty happy about that. Next. Next slide, or is that it? Oh, so here's some more parrots in Australia. Everybody knows budgies. You see them in the pet store all the time, but these are wild budgies. This is what they look like in the wild. They're nomadic, following water all the time. So when they find water, they will stay in an area for a while, and then when it dries up, they'll move someplace else to find water. They'll often breed if there's enough water, and they lay their eggs. They breed, lay their eggs, which hatch quickly, and the young grow up very
It
quickly.
worked out fine. It worked
Pardon me?
out fine.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Anyway, but what they would do is we were at this water hole, and they would a big there must have been 1,000 budgies there, and they would just circle and circle and circle around the water hole, looking to be sure if it was safe to come down. And then some of them would just drop down and they'd drink, and they'd be there for 2 seconds at the most before they took off again because they were vulnerable on the ground. Anyway, sort of a fun shot of them drinking from this water hole. Next one, please. I think this is the last one in New Zealand. This is the black swan. I think we always think of white swans and think they're really stunning. They're all black. Catch this one when it was just kind of resting in the water with its showing the beak and the eye. I think that's the last one, isn't it, Sri?
I think so. Yes.
All right. So thank you all very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Sean.
Hi, my turn now. Okay.
Hey.
So in the second half of July, like a month and a half ago, my wife and I went to Tanzania. It was the second time we went to Tanzania, but last time was in like year 2000, so it was 25 years ago. But we were there mainly for the big mammals and also the wildebeest migration crossing the river. But there were a lot of birds too. So go ahead and go to the next one. Yeah. I'm not going to pronounce that name. That's Belaloo or something like that. It's a French word. It means like this eagle flies in an acrobatic manner. It's supposed to be really beautiful, but I only caught like a few pictures in flight. So next. Okay, this is a bird very common to see in Africa, a little bee eater, and I got this one with the bee between the beaks. I like the color too. I think they like several of them get together to raise a young chick. It's like they need like 5 or 6 parents to bring adults to bring up one chick. So okay, yeah. Next, crown cranes. So that's also common in East Africa. Really beautiful birds. I was looking around. I realized that I took this picture with a 70 to 200 zoom. So I think the birds are large, and I think we were quite close inside a safari vehicle. Next.
One of these birds was living in Los Altos Hills for a couple of years. And
oh, really?
It even got mentioned in the local newspaper. I photographed it extensively. And eventually they located the owner who had a private aviary and managed to capture it and bring it home.
Okay. Yeah, usually those must have escaped it from something. So yeah, private collection or something. Yeah. Okay. Egyptian goose and with a bunch of goslings. So that was kind of interesting. We saw a pair of adults, but I think 7 or 8 little ones. Next. Okay, it's a casserole, but it's a slightly different from the ones we see in the Bay Area. The sizes are pretty much the same, but a very small predator. But I think the coloring is a little different. I saw this one on a tree. I couldn't figure out what it was. I had to use Google image search. I think it does a reasonable job to identify the birds. Next. Yeah. This is a juvenile martial eagle. I also have pictures of adults. I think they are much darker, but I realize that this is a juvenile. I have a few pictures of that. Kind of interesting eagle too. Next. Ostriches. So yeah, we witnessed a bunch of them. Actually, initially there were like four of them. They slowly walked to the edge of a pond and started drinking, and then a fifth one joined them. And so they keep on looking around like they were concerned about predators. So I think it's hard to get all of them drinking at the same time. So I try that. I also have some video. Yeah. Next one. Okay, oxpecker. Okay, I found out the ones on the back, those are actually starlings, but they are not in their mating plumage, so the colors are kind of dull. The one on the nose, that is a yellow-billed oxpecker. Actually, that's another one on the back too, but it's not visible in this picture. So they have like red bill and yellow bill, but the yellow bill is actually the base of the bill is yellow, but the tip is red. So and this bird was moving around like picking on the nose, and I think looking for like insects or something, and was getting them from the eye of the buffalo too. So yeah. Next. This is a secretary bird. I guess it got its name from the feather on the back of the head. They usually on the ground looking for snakes to eat. And so I understand their legs are very strong, so they're not concerned about like snake bites or something. It's fairly large bird too, and they walk around looking for prey.
They have a deadly kick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They stomp on their prey with their feet.
Yeah. Next one. Yeah. Yellow-billed stork, so it's a fairly large bird. Yeah, very colorful. I like that. That yeah. I lose track. I don't know how many I have 10 total, but
that was it. Yeah, that was it.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Obi.
Hi there. So I have a number of pictures of a nice surprise in Oakland where we have, and you can start with the first one. This is the first day that I found this nest. We have an eagle nest in Oakland, and somebody told me about it and wanted me to be very discreet about seeing it, so nobody would particularly find out about it. And I drove up to the rough area where it was supposed to be, and there were 30 people standing there with their binoculars. I think the word got out. So that's that maybe when that's in May. You can go to the next one. So the parents stayed somewhat nearby where they could see into the nest, and it's the female on the right and the male on the left. And this is in a cemetery in Oakland. So you could see them from a street in town or from the cemetery, but they only let you in the cemetery on certain days. So it became kind of interesting trying to catch up with them. So the next one. I sat and watched it for a long time and trying to get flight pictures. And all of a sudden, just as I was getting ready to leave, it popped off the tree and started flying. So I got that one, and I think there's one more after that of flying. You go to the next one too. Nope, I guess I only put one of those in there. And this is the babies. They're actually the two babies. One was a week later than the other one, and much smaller. People were quite worried that it was not going to make it, but eventually it did some rather good catching up. There's also another interesting experience with this is it became quite a community of people who are coming to take pictures of these birds on a regular basis, including a guy named Alberto. I forget his last name. Anyway, he's a specialist in eagles, and he'd climbed in the nests of harpy eagles, and he was involved with the condors and climbing in the nest when they took eggs and did stuff with the condors. It's a very interesting guy. So it helped understand what behaviors are going to come next. Mm-hmm. So that made the whole thing really quite enjoyable. So go to the next one. This guy was in the cemetery kind of waiting to see what happened. Apparently has mange or something. Apparently it's been around 2 or 3 years, and it was nursing. But it was right under the nest. If the birds had come down to the ground, it might have been a little bit interesting. Okay, next. That's supervision after they started flying. The babies are now about 3 weeks into since they fledged. And it was nearby. In this case, the birds are apparently the adults are bringing a fish in, dropping it in the nest, and then the babies come back to the nest to feed. So that was one of the big questions, whether they once came out of the nest, whether they'd come back, which they've been doing fairly regularly. But their range is getting greater and greater. So much harder to predict if you're going to see them or not. Okay, next. That's the day or so before this guy flew. Or no, he's actually starting to be out, climbing up in branches above the nest. And I think there's one more of the eagles. No,
This was it, yeah.
no. This is Peter earlier on talked about the condors,
Mm.
and I have a friend of mine who lives in Ontario, who's presented to this group before on hummingbirds. He keeps watching eBirds, so he was coming to the Bay Area, and he found out about the condors. So we arranged to go see the condors, and found this tree with all these guys on it, and there were a whole bunch of them. And it looked like we weren't going to find the condor, but one of the things he'd done in his research was these guys supposedly fly about an hour earlier because of the heat cycle and I guess the weight of the different bird. So when these guys went up about an hour later, the condor started going up. So the next picture is that's the end of the condors. Pretty much, there was only one around that day. We were later than Peter was, I think. So this is number 36, and I noticed his birds were number 98 and 92. So you can get history on these guys by their numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen Andean condors in fairly great numbers, but this is my first time seeing an Andean condor or a California condor.
Where was this?
This was in Morgan Hill, that general area. Lake was it Anderson Lake?
Okay.
Anderson Lake was quite dried up. There was some water there, but not very much.
I saw the same condor, and it was perched, and it was a cold morning, so it wouldn't take off. So I didn't wait for it to take off.
Well, he took off later, and we were almost ready to give up. We were literally packing up in the car when he popped up over the hill and started soaring. And not long, he was way up in the air. I mean, it's surprising how quickly he found air currents that were working really well. With very little effort, he was gone. But very nice to get to see him.
Yep.
And kind of interesting that the word got around. It looks like a number of people got to see both the eagles. Yeah, the eagles got in the newspaper, got in the comic, or the two of the different TV stations eventually came. They got to be pretty well known. So thanks. Nice to share. Very nice to be able to go back to a nest on a regular basis.
Thanks for sharing. You had one more.
Oh, I guess I forgot that. As we were leaving, this was another one that Peter had found on eBird as it might be a place we could find this guy, which we did. It's the first time I've seen the yellow-billed magpie. There were several of them there.
Cool.
I guess that is the last one. There you go.
Yep. Thanks, Obi.
Thank you.
Vivek.
Hello, thank you, Sri.
Of course.
Okay, let me turn on my video. Let's get started. Hopefully, you can all hear me.
Yes.
So all of these photos are from the Norwegian Arctic. We took a trip to Svalbard and a cruise further up north. So these photos are from that trip in this summer. So let's go to the next slide. So one of the key target birds on this trip were the eiders, and so we wanted to see the common eiders and the king eiders, and we saw them many times. These are very common there. You could walk up to them within like 6 inches. This was taken from quite far away. This is from a 600 f4, wide open, but still pretty close for a 600. So
Where
the
did you
next
say
one.
these were?
These are in Longyearbyen on the Svalbard Island. So it's about 78 degrees north. It's pretty far up north. One of the northernmost islands in the Norwegian high Arctic. Next.
Yeah.
So this is the king eider. So this was the second eider that we wanted to see, and this was the side of the road on Longyearbyen. There are only very few roads that go out of the town, and beyond a certain point, you can't really go because there are polar bears, so you have to be really careful. But this was within the polar bear limits, just by the side of the road east of the town. Okay, next one. So these are more king eiders in flight. These are in the Norwegian Arctic. Now we are way far out on the ocean. You can see the sea ice in the background. And these were sitting at the base of the glacier, and they took off as our zodiac came closer. So was happy to get this shot. These are all fairly long lenses, probably 400, 800 on this one, and almost full frame.
Wow.
Next. So now this is an interesting eider. This is a hybrid common / king eider. This is the only one of its kind. We saw only one, only once. So as you can see, part of its face looks like a common eider, especially the green on the face. And the bill looks like a cross between the top portion of the bill. The black portion looks like a common eider, but the rest of the bill shape is similar to a king eider. So definitely a hybrid eider. There are a couple other eider species that we did not see. So this one was a good find. This is a male, by the way.
Wow.
And you can also see the spurs on the back of the wings. Eiders have these spurs on the back of their wings. All eiders do. Okay. Next photo. So this is yet another fairly rare bird for us to see, but we saw it a few times there. This is a pink-footed goose. And if you folks have seen the bird movie, The Big Ear, this is one of the birds that they're chasing in the end. So this was on the tundra east of Longyearbyen. Okay, next. This is yet another fairly common bird there. This is a barnacle goose. On the ice, it's on Svalbard Island, but not near Longyearbyen. This is near a place called Texas Bar, pretty far north. And so the cruise goes up to these fjords, and then they, just like Galapagos or any of the other expedition cruises, they get you down onto a Zodiac, and you do a land, you have a land excursion, so you can get off the land. And this bird was like rather close. I think I didn't even have to zoom to get this bird. Fairly tame also. So, barnacle goose. Next. These are parasitic jaegers called Arctic skua in Europe. These two were just hanging out on the tundra, probably just playing at that time, and was able to get this shot just standing by the side of the road. The background is the face of the hill behind, and the tundra is in the front. So, okay, next. This is a black-legged kittiwake. This was at a beach. We were standing, and these kittiwakes, waves and waves of these kittiwakes came flying at us. So this was a lucky shot to be able to get it straight head on, and flying towards us. Came pretty close and then eventually flew over our heads. So you see these by tens of thousands, if not more. On some bird lists, these are like 80,000 of these. So this is a very, very common gull there. Okay,
How long
next.
was your cruise in these fjords?
How long?
Yeah, how many days?
It's 7 days from from embarkation to disembarkation, and they go pretty far north. Our northernmost point was 81.5 degrees, so it's pretty far north. You're closer to the North Pole than you are to the continental Europe.
What month?
This was June. We were there in June. Yeah, June.
I've always
We
wanted
were
to
there for
take
the solstice.
I've always wanted to take a Norwegian cruise.
Yeah, this is a good one. I would, if I were to do it, ever do it again, I would probably do it a little bit later in the year. I would say July would be more ideal. Just the way it shaped out for us. Okay. Next. This is the only sparrow-like bird over there, the snow bunting. This is the male. It's a pretty good bird that you hear a lot before you see it, and they're almost always just beyond the reach of your lens, and they're small, so you do need a long lens to be able to get a good picture. This one kind of cooperated. Okay, next one. Well, these birds are everywhere, but they're pretty hard to photograph because um, the zodiac is always bobbing, and you have a super long lens and up and down, and there are 8 other people on the zodiac, so it's kind of hard to photograph. But this one came in rather close and also came in sharp, so I like this photograph. The blue water is basically the water just off the island as you're approaching the island. Okay, next. This is actually a reflection of a northern fulmar flying pretty low on the Arctic water. So you can imagine how calm this water is, and um, this literally is a full reflection of that fulmar that you see above. Um, and this is in contrast to Antarctica, where water is never calm ever. And especially as you cross through the Drake's Passage, it's horrendous. So the one good thing about this Arctic cruise is that I get seasick, relatively easily, but there was absolutely nothing I needed to do. The, the expedition ship was big enough, and the waters were super calm. No issue at all on any day. Next. And this is the prize possession of the one good encounter of a grizzly bear that we saw on the high Canadian Arctic. I don't know what happened to the resolution here. It's full frame shot, literally less than 30-40 feet away.
You called this a grizzly
Against
bear. Did you mean grizzly bear?
Polar, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, polar bear.
Thanks.
Yeah, polar bear. So this we were looking for it for a while, and this particular bear was quite far away when we first saw it. And eventually, the captain just parked the ship next to the ice shelf, and I guess he smelled us and came pretty close to check us out. Eventually, getting within 20 feet, we have selfies with this polar bear. Of course, we were all safe and sound on top of the ship. But yeah, this was like a memorable experience. Okay, next. This is a red-throated loon. Again, very, very easy to photograph. This is on the nest, just right outside of Longyearbyen. We just got down the small berm, and there it was. There were multiple ponds where they had these red-throated loons in breeding plumage. It doesn't look anything like this when you see it out here in California. It generally is not in breeding plumage. I've seen this off of San Mateo coast, and it looks very, very different. There is no hint of the red on the throat at all when it is not in breeding plumage. So
Yeah.
I was glad to see this.
They're in Alaska as well.
Yeah, you do see them in Nome. I have seen them in Nome as well. And yeah, so it's a beautiful bird. I love this loon. I think this might be the last Sri.
I think this
Oh
one
no,
more.
there is one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a purple sandpiper, also in breeding plumage. Also actually on the same pond in Longyearbyen. There were many, many of these. Sometimes these were within like 2 feet. They're completely not afraid of humans. It's especially in Svalbard, further north, in like northern Svalbard National Park, all those places. They're very confiding. This one was a little farther away, but nevertheless, pretty good opportunities to photograph these birds. So I think that's it.
Excellent shots, Vivek.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Hi.
Yeah. Well, mine's gonna be very short because I didn't have enough time to go through the 13,000 pictures that I took in Brazil. So, but I did piece together a few.
Thank
So
you.
for 11, you can go to the first one. For 11 days in August, we went on an exploratory tour in Brazil with a tour group called Neblina Forest. We went to several different places in the Atlantic Forest, which were south and east of Sao Paulo, as well as several places in the Pantanal. We spent a lot of time getting to our destinations, a lot of time. Some of those trips were more unpleasant than others, put it that way. And if anybody's been down the Trans-Pantanal, road, you understand what I mean. But once we were there, we were definitely rewarded with a variety of species that we just had never seen before. So, so this particular bird, this is a green-headed tanager, and this was at a little place it translates to Toucan Trail, Toucan Trail, and it had tanagers like you can't imagine, and two different types of toucans as well, which you'll see. Okay, go to the next one. This is a red-necked tanager. I just could not believe all the different colors on this little thing. Unbelievable.
Wow.
And next one. This is a saffron toucanet. Super, super pretty. I mean, I just could not get over how beautiful these birds were. You go to the next one. It's a red-breasted toucan. And these, they're mostly at feeders and things like that, but the expressions on some of these birds' face, whenever they kind of looking at you and it's like, who are you? Was kind of cool to be able to try to capture those pictures as well.
Yep.
Okay, go to the next one. So this is a female bare-faced curassow. This was taken at a Puseda Rio Claro lodge. We were there for one night. It was like the halfway point between Pecone to Porto Joffre. And I think they needed to give us a break after being on the road that was bumping like crazy and going over these really scary wooden bridges that we definitely didn't think that we were going to get over sometimes and end up in the drink with the caimans. But thankfully we didn't do that. But the males are really pretty as well. They're all black. And I actually have a picture, which I didn't take up my pictures here, with his tail feathers up. So his underside is all white. So it's actually pretty cool. I go to the next one. So we eventually made it to Porto Joffre, and we did not stay at Porto Joffre. We stayed actually on a house, or it's an old boat that they turned into a hotel that's, several, I don't know, 20 minutes up or down the river. I'm not quite sure which one. But we stayed there and it was actually pretty cool. But every 2 times a day, we would go out to see if we could see what we could see, as well as look for jaguars, of course. I
Mm.
did not put a jaguar on here because this is bird photography. So this is a southern screamer. I figured I'd put on some different birds that that are like so unusual, you know. But this is southern screamer, and unfortunately, I don't have a picture of it with its mouth open and screaming, but it makes a really strange noise.
Mm.
Go to the next one. We saw a lot of kingfishers. I think there are 5 different kingfishers in Brazil, and I may have a picture of all 5. This is a female Amazon kingfisher, and she was just, she was definitely fishing up a storm and giving us really amazing views of her. So,
Beautiful.
yeah. So go to the next one.
Oof.
This is a rufous-tailed jacamar. They are just so pretty. I mean, I I don't think it's a hummingbird species. But it's a little chunkier than a hummingbird, but man, are they pretty. They have all the same little um iridescent feathers and things like that as a hummingbird. So go to the next one. This is a juvenile rufescent tiger heron. I actually think the juveniles are prettier than the parrots. Parrots are pretty, guaranteed. But this one was very close to us. The light was really good. And our boat captain, that we were on this small boat, he was very, very good about getting us pretty close to the birds. And it wasn't going anywhere. And next one. This is the Jabiru. We love these guys. There's actually several mated pairs, and this is actually sitting on top of a nest as well. But at the Rio Claro, where we had the curacao, there was actually an active nest there with 3 chicks in it as well. So that was actually pretty cool. And yeah, these things are huge. It's like you just don't realize how big they are until you see them flying through the air. But yeah, they're pretty cool. And that's it.
Wow. Thank you, Leah.
We saw 131 different birds there in 11 days. 131 different birds. That's only 10.
How many jaguars?
We did see, I think maybe 5 or 6 different ones, but and I have barely started to go through the pictures. We just got home a little more than a week ago, and I had to rush to get these pictures done for the presentation. And maybe this weekend I'll work on more pictures.
You'll have fun.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for doing this. So,
Yeah.
all right. So we are just two more to go.
Yep.
Today. So Elsie.
Yes, and I have had a summer. Oh man. I think I mentioned last Bring Your Own Bird photo night that I was due to close on a house on Little Cayman, and I did, and I own it, and it's lovely. It did come with 25 years worth of somebody else's stuff though, because it's very hard to get stuff to the island. Everything has to be barged in. So I got furniture, which is great, and a lot of other useful stuff, but several dead DVD players, some expired food, all the books by John Grisham. It was great. So I didn't get a lot of birding time there. That's my excuse, because I was constantly on my trips, like going through every closet. And then here at the ranch, we're doing a little project, some landscaping outside the kitchen. It involves removing about 3,000 square feet of concrete. Just a little project, just a little one.
Tiny.
We use excavators and skid steers, so it's not that bad. But you can go to the next slide. So today I decided to select images from here at the ranch that were all taken in one day, just on one day. And so this little bluebird visited the bird bath early on the morning of June 8th of this year. And birds come in and frequent the bath all day long. It's a very happening place. You can go to the next one, please. So later in the morning, this young scrub jay arrived, and he was very annoyed, like super annoyed. And that was because the starlings had flown in. If you can go to the next slide, please. And they had come along with this female brown-headed cowbird. In the summer, and not in the winter, only in the summer, we usually have a gang of starlings that sort of fly around the hillsides and cause trouble. And these guys will take over this bird bath and empty it completely because they just have a giant pool party. But this year was different because we have a gang of young turkeys, young wild turkeys, youngsters. We don't normally have turkeys near the house all the time, but this summer we have, and we think that's like kept the starlings at bay, which I'm not complaining about. I will complain about the copious amounts of turkey poop outside my office, but not the actual end result. Next one, please. And this is Phoebe. This shot was taken out from the other window, not the window to my left, but the window to my right here in my office. And another unusual thing, we always have black Phoebes, yes, here at the ranch. But this year, this guy, he's basically been living in our central courtyard, which is, it's formed by the wings of the house and the garage and another building. And it makes like a, you know, a U-shaped large courtyard. And he's been our like pest technician all summer. He's really good at it. I mean, there's no bugs out there. Next one, please. So summer means nesting season, and our California towhees, of course, they showed up. And in this photo, the parents on the left, the youngsters on the right. And I love finding group shots like this, especially because with towhees, because they're so easygoing. They will share the bath with anybody. They might get bullied by somebody like a jay or whatnot, but they'll share with the woodpeckers, the orioles, everybody. Sparrows when the sparrows come back, which should be any day now. Next one, please. And yeah, this is another youngster, and I love it. He showed up late in the afternoon, and he hadn't quite grown all his right wing primaries yet. So he had fledged, but he wasn't quite fully baked yet. I did see him a few days later, and you could see the primaries poking out. They were starting to grow. He had just fledged early. Next one, please. And this guy, once again, his feathers were just, this hooded oriole, his feathers were just starting to come in. And there's a very funny story about that bird feeder he's at. So we provide we have multiple pairs of bullocks and oriole and hooded orioles that nest here in the summer months, and we provide them with jam and sugar water. And this is my favorite feeder, but it's been discontinued. And it normally has these little plastic flowers that go in those holes that the bird can easily get its beak into and sip its nectar, the sugar water. But we also have black-headed grosbeaks, and they love sugar water too. So all the flowers for this feeder in this shot are down on the ground. But as I mentioned, feeder's been discontinued and have the little replacement flowers. But I got a 3D printer and I know how to use it. So I got myself some UV resistant filament, and we've made new flowers for my feeders, so I don't have to replace them because I have over half a dozen of these. And the best part is the grosbeaks won't be able to pull the flowers out. I'm so excited for next year. Yes, so that's the saga of the feeders. Next one, please. Later in the afternoon, our scrub jay came in. Now, you'll see in the background, you can see the water is flowing in this shot. There is water coming in. So we have our water sources, our baths, all hooked up to our irrigation, but the valves are separate from the valves that are used for vegetation. And several of our bird species have learned, and they only come in when the water is running, especially our jays. Our jays love to bathe when the water's running. I don't know why, we keep it pretty clean, but they really like the fresh water. Next one, please. And then going back to our grosbeaks, the little piggies that they are, not only do they eat jam, sugar water, and seeds from our feeders, they also eat nuts. And in this shot, it's interesting because they're two different color morphs. And they were not, they didn't want to hang out. The one on the right just forced the one on the left to go away. And again, these were order they were shot. So this is about late afternoon. So if we can go to the next one, please. So we also have thrashers. They are a common garden bird for me up here at the ranch. And this youngster, he came in for a bath, but he didn't want to go actually into the pool of water. And what you see is him sitting in the overspray of the bird bath as it's running, because his parent is right there in the foreground, as it's running, and he's just taking a shower. Because he didn't like the idea of actually going in that big pool of water. He just didn't like it. And then by the end of the day, can you move to the next one, please? Our baby quail start showing up in the summer months. These guys are about 5 days old. They're entering the ungainly stage. They're still cute, but they're no longer the golf ball size. And judging by the size of our quail herds right now, these guys probably made it, which makes me happy because it means our efforts to keep our feral cats from showing up and trying to make a meal of these guys have been successful.
Awesome.
And now for the promo plugs. If you're interested in visiting the ranch where I live, we are partnering with the Los Gatos Birdwatcher and we'll be hosting an event to benefit SFBBO's Fall Challenge. The details, I'll post a link to the Los Gatos Birdwatcher newsletter because Lisa is the one organizing it. I'm just providing the lunch and the story and the walking tour and the historic stuff. And so I'll post that in chat. And also on the 20th of September, the Los Gatos Birdwatcher is celebrating their 30th birthday with a party at the store. So you can go check that out. I figured I'd plug Lisa for that as long as I'm plugging the SFBBO thing. And finally, since we had the wonderful illustration of a bird hawking up pellets, on September 27th, the Wild Care Center at Penitencia, which is formerly the Wildlife Center of Silicon Valley. Their Penitencia location at the park will be hosting the Walk on the Wild Side. They didn't host it last year, but they're doing it this year. And if you come by, I will probably be manning the owl pellet station. So you could come, you could visit, you could dissect your own and see what the bird had been eating. So those are my PSAs. Once again, the Los Gatos Birdwatcher, I'll post the link. There's also in the newsletter, there's details about the party on the 20th. And then if you go to the Peninsula Area Humane Society's page, they'll be posting details about the Walk on the Wild Side, which is on the 27th. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Elsie. And if you don't mind sending me an email, I can circulate that to people then.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely want to support Lisa and the bird watching group. So excellent. All right. I am last, and I think I just want to just let people know I'm enamored by the blue color in birds in general, and I'm always astonished of why this color actually happens in nature. And in my trip to India this year, I was able to photograph quite a few. Mostly people know that the blue color in birds is a structural feature of the feathers. It's not a color, it's not a pigment. And so this actually just gives me some interesting facts to read and things like that. It's pretty fascinating. It's a very rare color in nature, by the way. And this is one of the most common bluebird that you would see, and you've probably seen it in California as well. And if not, then there are several places which actually they have Indian peafowl and now in the yards. One place to photograph that I have actually photographed is also the Ardenwood Farms. So there's a male and several females there. So, but yeah, this was taken in India, and they were doing the mating dance, which gave me some nice, beautiful close-ups. You can see the striking blue. This is a bluish bird. It's actually called a purple sunbird. It's one of the closest relatives to a hummingbird, I would say, in terms of its, in how it hovers. It's not a hummingbird species. There are no hummingbirds in India or Asia. Hummingbirds only, of course, as we know, it's only in the Americas. But this is the closest you get to the behavior-wise. And this is the purple sunbird. It also has a cousin, the purple rumped humbird. And these are just absolutely stunning birds to watch. This is a blue whistling thrush that I got to see in the northern part of India. Again, striking bird. Nothing like the thrushes we have here. A white-throated kingfisher, a fairly common kingfisher all over India, in fact. And of course, as you can see, the colors are just absolutely amazing. This is a common kingfisher, and I think it's called common because it's found in most of the continents. But it was actually pretty difficult to see and photograph. One of my favorites, I would say, was the Indian roller. And I got some amazing photographs of the roller this year. In fact, very, very good close-ups. And sometimes a bird would come land so close to the Jeep that we were on that you could take a photo with your iPhone if you wanted to. And striking blue color. This one has has an insect in its beak. This is called a Tickles blue flycatcher. And one bird that I've actually tried photographing for several years now, I get to see them, but I never get to see them in open. So one of the things that I would love to go back and photograph this bird with a clean perch. Very close to the flycatcher is this bird called the rufous-bellied Neeltava. Neel in Hindi actually means blue, and this is rufous-bellied, as you can see. Again, this I've seen in the northern part of the country. A fascinating bird here is the red-billed blue magpie. It actually also has a cousin, which is a yellow-billed blue magpie, but the yellow-billed are at a different elevation than the red-billed. And of course, one of my favorites, the Himalayan monal. Nothing like seeing the monal in the wild. Absolutely stunning bird with rainbow colors. I mean, every color you can imagine, it just seems like it's been dipped in that color and then just walks around. This is the male. Yeah, so it's absolutely fantastic blue colors in birds, and I still don't know why evolution would actually bring this color into birds, but there they are. All right. So that was it for today. So thank you, folks. I really appreciate everybody hanging out till the end, and really appreciate everybody showing their photos. So
What a nice group of photos.
Yeah, everybody really
absolutely.
comes to
Yeah.
the pictures. Thanks so much.
This was so inspiring, actually. Yes. Yeah. And I would love to send a couple of emails out and see if people want to join us in a trip sometime. So maybe do a photo walk and
Come to the ranch.
or so. Yeah, there you go. Maybe come to the ranch, actually. Yeah, why not?
Come to the ranch.
Why
Yeah.
not, right? Why not? Yeah.
Sure.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks all.
Take care, everybody.
Good night, folks. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you, Sri. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Excellent photos, everyone.